And to discuss this issue further, we're joined now by political analyst Levi Ndou. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. So it was interesting to hear the current Premier say female MECs comprise more than 80% of the component there. But I'd like to start at looking at ways in which former institutions of democratic representation work in practice for women in South Africa, and particularly within the ANC itself. Dr. Ndou.
Good evening, Tsepiso. Good evening to the viewers at home. The ANC has had sufficient support coming from women during elections, and also women that are active participants in the activities of the ANC. And that is why now you talk about the ANC Women's League at national level, and you also have structures at provincial level, and also regions and branches. At the same time, you have got the ANC that has adopted the principle of 50-50 in terms of representation by women. And I think it is that issue that is influencing women and also encouraging them to get directly involved in the activities of the party. At the same time, it is the ANC that has spoken about many policies that relates to women representation in government. Mainly, you have a lot of women that are there in the national legislature. You have women participating in many other provinces. We have on numerous occasions found a situation where women would at some instances only be given a role that will be seen like being just supportive and not being given strategic responsibilities. That remains an issue that is worrying.
And I'm glad you raised that, because I wanted us to look beyond the quotas. Although those have increased, the descriptive representation of women in political arenas, but has the actual representation in the decision-making process been ensured, as you say, that it's been cosmetic to a great extent?
There has been great progress that has been made that relates to the responsibilities given to women. But it remains a challenge, and I don't think South Africa has been able to achieve that. If you look at other political parties, they don't even entertain the issue of women because they do not have clear policies that relates to women's representation. Even though the ANC has spoken about it, I think there is still a very long way to go. And I think that is where now the ANC Women's League has to come in, not only on ensuring that they get representation, but they also need to develop programs that will assist women to be able to participate in areas mainly that were considered to be male-dominated, and also professions that were only reserved for males. My sense is that the Women's League has to play a much bigger role in doing so, because I still feel that even though there are strides that have been made, but it's still not sufficient. We still need to see more women getting involved and playing critical roles in the South African body politic.
And I'm glad that you explained what women in power actually looks like. But I also understand that amongst academia, there's a great debate, especially about the link between statutory gender quota laws and greater numbers of women in power. So from the grassroots level, how does this translate? I just want to understand this equation, because in a patriarchal society, women are automatically inane, or they inanely believe that they can only have so much influence, if at all.
Well, I think there is still a lot that we need to do. Firstly, there are many cultural practices and religious practices that still discriminate against women. We need to get religion playing a role in ensuring that discrimination in different churches has to come to an end. You know that the treatment of women in some churches would leave much to be desired, because there is quite open discrimination that is happening in churches. In some churches, males are referred to as pastors, whilst women are only referred to as congregants. In some churches, there is a door that is designed for women, and there is a door that is designed for males. And the treatment has not changed. Women are still treated differently. You still have our own cultural and traditional beliefs that would still put women in an inferior position as compared to men. You need to have our traditional leaders coming in ensuring that whatever decisions that they take, they should also make sure that women are also being considered. You also need to ensure that, because we want women to get involved, and I want to emphasize this one, develop skills that should empower women so that they actually participate whilst they are actually properly skilled. Another area that is quite worrying is that you also need women being able to support each other and ensure that the support of women is actually guaranteed, especially from those women that could be forwarded or who are being given strategic positions. Because in some instances, instead of seeing women being supportive of their own, the case becomes different.
I want to focus now on the thought leadership of women. The liberation struggle, women have been lauded for their role there. But I want to reflect on a recent event. The ANC Women's League Congress, the national convener, saying that it was time for South Africa, particularly the ANC, to deal with the reality of coalition governments. But she was then quickly contradicted by the Secretary General of the mother body, who said that the ANC is not negotiating along those lines. So the influence of women in the direction of modernization of the party, is that given its due? Do women have the space to change the policy direction, particularly of the party, the character of the party?
Well, I think women have the potential to do so. It is women that are able and who are quite very accommodative, who would give themselves sufficient time, and they are very patient when it comes to negotiations. And I think when we are being confronted by a situation where you have hostile partners or hostile coalition partners, you need women to be able to be there to calm the situation. But also at the same time, you need women in the ANC Women's League to be able to develop programs and activities that will ensure that their participation is based on the issues that they've discussed, and it's also based on the realities that we actually face right now. Whether we like it or not, there is no turning back. Women should also be given responsibilities to run South Africa.
Quick and final question, Dr. Ndou. If we were to look at Limpopo, the provincial leadership, who would stand out as a front runner and the candidate of premiership for Limpopo, are there people who you think have not only distinguished themselves in how they've been able to organize for the party, but their leadership?
Limpopo is one province that has never had a female premier. All other provinces in South Africa have had a female premier. But it is not supposed to be given that the Limpopo is going to have a female premier. The women in the ANC should therefore be able to go and convince their comrades in the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC, and they then also have to provide capable women who can be able to run the province. The Provincial Executive Committee in Limpopo has got women in it, and I think that is where now they should actually look at. The health minister of Limpopo, Dr. Ramathuba, is a capable human person to become a premier. You have got Makoma Makhrupecha, who can also become a premier. You have got a lot of other women who can occupy these positions of being a premier. And now that Limpopo is the only one that has not been given that opportunity, I think this is the right time to do so.
Thank you for your time and insights, Dr. Levi Ndou, political analyst.